if we continue to hide our faith, then we're not really following Jesus.
Frank, I don't think anyone could ever accuse you of trying to hide your faith. Nor do I think most people do that, regardless of what religion they follow. Most people don't talk about their religion in ordinary conversation because the topic just simply doesn't come up. Unlike you and me, Frankie, for most people, their faith is a small part of their lives. My stepmother-in-law, when I brought up the subject of religion, I was a believer then, said she felt that faith was a personal thing that shouldn't be discussed. That was a polite way to get out of the conversation. However, that makes faith sound like something like going to the toilet or sex, things we all do, but most of us just simply don't talk about. I wish we did talk about sex more. If I had known more about sex, what it's supposed to be about, I would not have gone through a decade of suffering. I don't know why, but somehow we managed to get on a rabbit trail, and we're only on the introduction. This actually has nothing to do with Frank's topic. Frank's topic is finding ways for public school teachers to proselytize in the public schools. With the way things are currently going, this is scary stuff. So let's have a chat. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, and especially to my patrons and channel members. From that little intro we saw, we get the message that Frank thinks that believers should be talking about their faith. Is there a difference between hiding your faith and simply not talking about it? I think so. A person who chooses not to talk about their faith isn't hiding it. They are simply engaged in other things. Hiding it would be evading questions about it. But Frank thinks believers should talk about their faith whenever possible. When it's me, fine, bring it on. But when it comes to someone's kids, absolutely not. I work with kids in my volunteer work. Before I go see a kid, I make sure that I'm not wearing anything that says atheist or godless on it. I still sometimes wear Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe, leaf be upon her, or Viced Rhino, as those garments don't identify who Viced Rhino or Lisa the Rainbow Giraffe are, and kids like the cute animals. I had a kid ask me point blank recently what my religion was, and I simply said I preferred not to say. That was the end of it. The point is, I would never push my atheism on someone else's kids. That Frank thinks it's okay for public school teachers to push Christianity on other people's kids is appalling at best and illegal at worst. Let's hear the question.
A teacher at a public school, and I have gone through these questions and doubts myself when I was in middle school, and a lot of books on apologetics has helped me. I see a lot of kids in my class. I teach kindergarten through fifth art, so I see them all, and there are so many questions that I'd love to ask them and that we talk about. You know, I feel like I could help them.
Have you ever considered the possibility that you were in the wrong profession? Or that it's perfectly fine to ask kids about their religious question in a different setting, like as a church Sunday school teacher? There is nothing wrong with what this woman wants to do. The problem is where she wants to do it. If she really were only concerned about helping kids with their religious doubts, then teaching a Sunday school at a church or teaching a children's church would allow her to do exactly what she wants to do, legally. Parents that bring their kids to Sunday school or junior church expect their children to receive religious instruction in the faith of the church that they brought their kids to, and this is perfectly fine. What isn't fine, what's not okay, is that isn't what this woman wants to do. She doesn't want to teach in a church where kids coming to her already get religious instruction from multiple sources. She wants to teach her religion in the public school. There are three major problems here. First, the parents didn't send the kids to school for religious instruction. None of them consented to this teacher presenting her religion to their kids. There's no consent here. Second, this is a public school. The kids will be of different faiths. Why do you think kids need to hear about your faith from you? You aren't here to teach faith. You're here to teach art. If you want to teach your faith, then go to an appropriate setting where kids are there to learn about your faith. Finally, there's this little thing we call the First Amendment. It includes a separation of church and state. That same law that gives you the right to believe whatever you want about any God you want and worship any God in any manner you desire, with few limitations, also says that you have to respect the rights of others not to worship your God, which includes not forcing your faith on other people's kids. Think of it this way. Your Bible says to do unto others as you would have others do unto you. If your kid was in a classroom with a Muslim teacher, would you be okay with the teacher sneaking in stories from the Quran? Or with the teacher telling your child about how wonderful Allah is? If you are not okay with that, then why do you think it's okay for you to do it?
But it's a public school. And I didn't know if you had any advice on...
What do you teach in the
I
public
teach
school?
Art.
And here we see that Frank isn't really listening. She already told us that she teaches art to kindergarten through 5th grade students.
Okay. Well, you can use Christian art.
This response shows how little Frank remembers about school. He's not wrong. The art teacher has the right to use Christian art in teaching about art. Some of the greatest works of art in the world are Christian art. Because Christianity had a monopoly on faith during the Renaissance, faith-based works were about Christianity. At least those produced in Europe were. The problem is that art class for K through 5 isn't learning about art. That comes later. Elementary art is about making stuff. It's about learning how to paint and draw. I absolutely suck at art. But an art teacher in 2nd grade taught me how to draw a tree. Here's my drawing of a tree. It isn't perfect, but it's one of the very few things that I can draw. That's what elementary art is about, how to make things. I also learned how to make a collage, paper mache, and more. But my favorite thing was finger painting. We rarely got to do that, but I loved it. Not only did I get to squish my hands in the paint, but the picture wasn't expected to look just like something. If someone had told me in elementary school that Impressionism is a thing, and it's okay to make a picture that just kind of looks like what it's supposed to be, I would have had so much more fun with art. But no one teaches kids about Impressionism in elementary school. At least they didn't in mine. Incidentally, if this is something you want to communicate to your kids or grandkids, this is a great book for that.
Okay.
Right?
I'm trying to, legal ways.
Yeah, I mean, you can use the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
No, some of
right?
They're fully clothed? Okay.
Huh?
Are they fully clothed?
What?
Are they fully clothed? I get why she's asking this. No, they are not fully clothed. When I visited the Sistine Chapel, this is a topic that came up, that the church wanted Michelangelo to clothe the people. He did add clothing to certain people at the church's request, but many were left naked. I do get that small children will point and giggle if they're shown some of this artwork. But really, this shouldn't be an issue. Children should be allowed to see great art, even if the subjects are naked. We Americans are such prudes.
Well, even if they're not. I mean,
Adam and Eve.
yeah. You could use the statue of David, right?
The David? No, he's naked.
Oh, no, you got to put a loincloth on him? Okay.
I think it's amusing that the Christian teacher can't show some of the greatest art in history to our art students because it offends her Christian sensibilities about showing a naked body. And Frank is so out of touch that he doesn't get that some parents, particularly Christian parents, would be upset by their daughters seeing a picture of the statue of David. But Frank isn't wrong. It's fine for an art teacher to teach about Christian art. In high school, the one place I learned about Christianity was in choir. The choir director never told us about his faith, never took a faith-based question. He simply taught us music. but some of the music told us about the Christian faith. We sang a good variety of music. We also sang songs from The Graduate, a controversial film at the time, at least for most believers. My point is that there are some subjects, like art and music, which should include Christian works, as they are some of the greatest works ever made. What isn't okay is then telling students what they should believe about these things.
This is elementary. If you show.
You can use Rembrandts, right? There's many Rembrandts of
Yeah.
biblical stories.
Again, Frank isn't wrong. This is okay in the public school. However, if Bible stories are the only artwork she is showing to the kids, then it becomes a problem. If she is showing a lopsided picture to her students that great art is only about the Bible, then not only is she doing a bad job at teaching art to her students, she's also walking a thin line of violating the children's constitutional rights to freedom of religion. It's okay for the teacher to teach about Christian art. It's even okay to talk about what's depicted in the art. But if she's using that to read the Bible stories themselves, that isn't okay. That is crossing the line into teaching religion. Frank is giving this teacher advice that could get her into trouble. And let's not forget, elementary art is about learning to make stuff. It's the rare elementary art teacher that lectures on Rembrandt, Michelangelo, Raphael, or Donatello. If she did, the kids would probably think she was talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
In fact, my friend J. Warner Wallace has a book called, it's called Person of Interest. You could tell virtually every story in the gospel by art. There's been art done throughout the history. Most art in Western civilization has been art about Jesus and about Christianity, so you can use that.
True, but again, if that is all she is teaching is Christian art, then she is violating the children's freedom of religion. She's welcome to teach about Christian art, but she isn't welcome to teach as if that is all the art that there is.
You can also talk about God through the Declaration of Independence.
No, you absolutely cannot. The only mention of God in the Declaration of Independence is nature's God. There is also a reference to divine providence, creator, and the supreme judge of the world. None of these is the Christian God. For this teacher to teach that these refer to the Christian God is not only inaccurate, but is again a violation of the children's right to freedom of religion. Further, Frank, she's an art teacher. The Declaration of Independence isn't art. This doesn't belong in an art class.
The Declaration of Independence is not unconstitutional.
That's right, but teaching it as a Christian document or a document about the Christian God is. Not to mention, this isn't art, Frank. You keep forgetting she's an art teacher.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I think there are ways of bringing that up by talking about cause and effect.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Hey, this art is designed. There must be a designer.
Again, Frank is walking a thin line. Sure, it's okay to say that this art is designed. There must be a designer. But yes, all art is made by an artist. But to then say that therefore the universe or the world must have had a designer not only doesn't logically follow, the universe isn't a piece of artwork, it isn't related to the lesson. To jump from cosmology, that art is designed, therefore the universe is designed, is to jump completely out of her field and her subject matter. She has no business teaching the kids about the origin of the universe in art class. It isn't related. Frank is not only giving this teacher really bad advice, he might end up costing her her job.
I have snuck some of that in.
And this admission will seal her fate. She knows she isn't supposed to be teaching this because she knows it's a violation of the children's freedom of religion. Yet she has snuck some of that in. This not only is a violation of the children's rights, it's a violation of your own theology. You are suggesting that she do what neither of you would want done to your own children or grandchildren. You would not want a teacher of another faith sneaking in lessons about his faith to your children. So why do you think this is okay? Jesus never did anything like this or said anything like this in his ministry, at least if the Gospels give an accurate picture of what Jesus did. There's no stories of him trying to get people to listen to him that don't want to. There's no stories of him sneaking a message to the children of people of other faiths. If your own Lord and Savior never behaved this way, why do you think it's okay for you to do it?
There you go.
Sometimes I feel like I've had to say, well, you need to talk to your parents about this because I feel a little.
That's a good response. If a kid is asking about faith issues, they should talk to their parents. You have no idea what faith that kid is, if any. Anything you say other than referring them to their parents could potentially be a violation of their freedom of religion.
Well, first of all, if they ask you, you can say whatever you want.
No, Frank, this is not true. There is a grain of truth to this, but not much. If a child asks a teacher if Allah really is the only true God, and the teacher responds by saying, no, Jesus is the only true God, that is crossing a line. And if the teacher adds, and you need to accept Jesus into your heart or you're going to hell, that is completely across the line. That is absolutely forbidden. A teacher cannot proselytize. A teacher cannot tell a child what to believe. If the child asks the teacher what they believe, the teacher is free to tell the child what they believe. But they cannot tell the child what the child needs to believe. This is not legal. A teacher is not able to proselytize just because a student asks a faith-based question. If the child asks if gay marriage is okay, and the teacher says, no, all gay people should be unalived in accordance with the Bible, and the child has gay parents, you not only violated the child's freedom of religion, you also told the child that his parents should be, I'm not going to say it. Can you imagine how damaging that would be to a child? Telling him his parents belong in hell? Telling him he belongs in hell unless he believes like you do? I know you probably think that, but you have no business saying that to another person's child. Imagine if you were walking down the street and some stranger told your child that they were going to hell unless he believed in the Jabba Java King. Do they now believe in the Jabba Java King? Of course they do, because they don't want to go to hell, even though I just made up the Jabba Java King. I wonder what AI art would do with that. What would it picture the Jabba Java King as looking like? There, we have a new god, the Jabba Java King. Drink your coffee every day or you go to hell. But seriously, Frank is putting this teacher's job in jeopardy. This is why people who aren't lawyers shouldn't be giving legal advice. And when you follow the legal advice of a person who isn't a lawyer, you are in a crapshoot. I find it hard to believe that Frank is really this thick. How could he possibly think that if a student asks a question, the teacher then has free rein to give any answer she wants? He has not thought this through. Worse, he gives this response with such confidence that he gives the appearance of knowing what he's talking about when he doesn't. Frank, stick to your field. Your field is apologetics. Don't give medical advice. Don't give legal advice. You suck at it as much as I suck at art.
All right, and you should.
Okay.
And look, I know it's going to sound a little harsh, but if we continue to hide our faith, then we're not really following Jesus.
No one is asking you to hide your faith. Just talk about it in the right place to the right people at the right time. And the right people is not someone else's kids. The teacher can wear a cross. She can wear a dress that depicts a Bible story. She can have a picture of herself and her family at church. No one is asking you to hide your faith, only that you discuss it in appropriate places with appropriate people.
That's my debate. And it's like I see all these kids go through, and I know I could help them, and so I try.
You don't know that. You cannot know that. You think you do because your religion tells you that people are better off believing as you do. But you only think that because your religion tells you that. Don't you think the kids' parents think the same thing about their religion, even if their religion is no religion? I think no religion is the healthiest way to grow up. I think no religion is the freest and most honest way to live. But I'm not going to tell someone else's kids that, even if I thought it could help them. That isn't my place. Parents have the right to raise their kids in any religion they want, even if that's Calvinism or Islam or New Independent Fundamentalist Baptist. I have no right to tell kids of these faiths that their faith is misplaced or that the way that they live is wrong. That's why when I go see kids, I take off my Godless Granny sweatshirt and my What's Up Heathens t-shirt and put on a plain blue shirt and my plain white fleece jacket. It is arrogant of you to decide that you know what is best for other people's children and that you can help them by getting them to believe in your religion.
If you ever get into trouble with any of this, there is an organization that will help you. It's called ADF, Alliance Defending Freedom. ADF, you can find them online. And if say the school tries to fire you or something, and if they think they have a good case, they will defend you free of charge.
Note the caveat there, if they think you have a good case. If this teacher follows Frank's advice and tells a student whatever she wants, like that the student needs to believe in Jesus, she will not have a good case, because that is never okay in the public schools. And this organization isn't going to defend her because she was in the wrong. Frank and Jessica are free to talk about their faith to any consenting adult. They are free to talk about their faith to children whose parents have consented. They are not free to talk to children of parents that have not given their consent to such a conversation. So you don't need to hide your faith, nor do I need to hide my lack of faith. But we do need to keep this discussion in appropriate places. Live your life.